This is the year 2025.
Well done, Johnny.
And Michael is not actually here. He's off gallivanting in Australia.
Great Australia. So you left with Johnny and me. I'm running the tech, which is technologically challenging. I will say that much.
Do you know what it is? I think you've got the capability. I think you can do this no problem.
Thank you so much. So today, more of a bit of a freestyling thing about summer holidays, the state of play in the country. Where are we going to? What scares us? What doesn't scare us? How do we get past it?
Oh God, that's a whole.
So it's a whole lot to unpack.
Well, do you know? The first things first. Well, Mike's away on holiday, so let's just chat about that. When you're planning a holiday, how does your business survive without you? And this is one of those conversations where we're always eager to start a business. You're working in a business, but you want to grow and scale your business so you can actually exit it. That's a plan. You don't have to, but that's a plan. So you can extract yourself out from the business so you get that time back that a lot of people are looking for.
I think that's one of the most difficult things is to extract yourself from your business because it is your baby. You've started it, you've run it, you've built it. Nobody else will do it as well as you do. Nobody else has got the same passion. But when holiday season does come up, a lot of people think, okay, well, what am I going to do? Because it's not something you think about when it's just you. So if it's just you delivering for your clients, what do? I think probably the easiest thing is you tell them, I'm going to go on holiday for 2 weeks or 10 days, however many days, I'll be back at such and such a date. And you give them enough advance notice, they should be okay with it because generally everybody wants to go on holiday. And holidays are good. You can't work 365 without taking a break. You can't because you'll burn yourself out. You could maybe do it for a period of time, but you won't be able to do it for a prolonged period of time.
No, I think it's important as well because when you're used to just working every single day, you're trying to make the pennies and the pounds. So when you're off, you're not making any money. So let's talk about the smaller side of the business, then scaling it up. So the smaller one-person businesses, yes, you're not making any money. However, you can adapt it. You can bring somebody in to run your business, whether it's a shop, whether it's retail, whether it's a trades business. You can get somebody in just to be turning over some work. You can try and give them easier work so you know it's less hassle. You can plan it out. So there's things that you can do like that. However, if you are going to be breaking off, then you know that you're going to have to work the weekends before it and longer hours to make that money for the time that you're going to be off. Next part of it would be if you're employing people. How do you, this is why it's so important to give them value and recognise them for all their efforts and really give them the footing so they can make their own mistakes but find their own, Find the
path, maybe?
Find the path, but find the solutions for certain things.
I will say this, though, that if you're in retail, it's really, really interesting for retailers. Because what do you do if you've got a little shop front? Do you just close it up for a couple of days and just go, oh, I'm going on a bit of a holiday, and this is where it is? I know a guy that's got a butchery, and he goes away every year for 2 weeks. Now during summertime, he just closes it. It for 2 weeks, and he publishes advance notice, albeit through Facebook and a poster in his window. But I think that your customers will return. They might not be happy, but they might return. They might not return. There's always a risk in it. But you're right. When you've got employees, who do you trust to make those decisions? Because when you're away, who do you trust enough to make the important decisions in your business? The decisions about, a client. What do we give away to a client? What if we really make a big mistake on a client? What do we give away? Who do you trust enough to make those decisions? Or are those decisions you only keep with yourself? Now, I want to tell you a bit of a story about a guy named Mike. Not Mike from here, but a different Michael. Right, okay. He built he's got quite a good, thriving IT practice. And when you speak to him, he'll tell you that he's not involved in the day-to-day. But the reality of the matter is he is involved in the day-to-day. He doesn't trust, let's call them heads of department, heads of design, head of development. He doesn't trust them enough to do that. So he's always looking over their shoulder. And it was an interesting thing is they came to value his business. And he got probably 50% less of what he thought it would be. And one of the learnings from it is, how do you not become reliant on the owner? Because face it, all businesses are reliant on their owners. But only when you get to a certain stage, and I think the stage is when you start getting to north of £500,000 turnover, you need to start looking at, how do I make this business less reliant on me? And when you get to $1 million, the business shouldn't be reliant on you at all, because by that sort of time, in terms of revenue, you should actually be the one that is more orchestrating than doing. But very often we don't. We like, I think it's human nature. We like to have control. We want to control things. We want to make sure things work.
I think that's very true, but it's also, not everybody's got the education. They're just so busy, they're programmed to be at school, carry out your tasks, become an employee, and then there's a small minority of us that then go into business. That doesn't mean you're an entrepreneur. You just want to do it for yourself. And then eventually you become, or you can become an entrepreneur if you've got that thirst, that hunger for businesses, buying and selling, starting new acquisitions, all these kind of things. But really, you just start developing over a period of time, and then you realise, like, I don't even think there's a figure on it. I think people just go, oh, right, I really need to go on holiday. How can I switch off? I think it's a feeling. Everything's a feeling in life. You're doing something, you want to get better at it, you want to go on holiday, and you get the stress of it. You go, right, how can I mitigate that stress? Right, I need to try and figure out something for the following year when I go on a family holiday. I think it's like that. I don't think it's like it's all just textbook. I think there's another small minority that really plan it all out. But a lot of us, again, flying by the seat of our pants and making decisions based on our feelings from previous.
I can't agree with you more. I like data-driven decisions. Okay, so your decisions need to be driven by some data. And if you invest in data really early on, you'll be able to see what is your customer demand, customer trends, because your customers also go on holiday, and try and book your holiday with that. But you're right, we don't think about that. We don't think about where's the next big thing going to come from. And it's an interesting thing. I attended something maybe 2-3 years ago, and one of the keynote speakers said one of his issues, because he was one of the development agency's heads, he goes, one of his issues is people put glass ceilings on it. They go, oh, we're comfortable here. We're comfortable turning over $1 million. Why are you comfortable turning over $1 million? And that is where it is different for some people. Some people create their businesses just to have a job. Their business is actually a job. I'm going to be a little bit controversial, but 90% of business owners out there have a job. They don't have a business. They have a job. And the job pays well because it affords them a lifestyle. It affords them so many other things, but they can never really truly be free of that business. They'll always be in there. So they've got a good job and a good lifestyle. But what's the point in having a business? A business is supposed to give you freedom. I think that's one of the biggest benefits of a business is it gives you freedom. And the freedom to sell it if you want to, freedom to pass it on to your children if you want it, freedom to appoint a general manager or an MD and still draw a wage from it, and just be involved in the strategic things and looking at, how do I acquire maybe one of my customers or one of my suppliers? How do I grow that business? But we don't. As business, we always think and it's hard. Make no mistake, being in business is hard. I don't think being in business is easy for 1 second. I think when you look at it, business is hard at the moment. There's a lot of external factors, let's call it political and economic unrest.
That is there. I mean, there you go. So we're dipping our toe into the holiday season. Let's dip our toe into the
political and economic situation.
Well, it doesn't matter about who you support. And this is one of the things that really boils my piss.
Yeah.
People that, I believe in, I support Labour, I support Tories, I support this, I support this, I support reform. Ugh. At the end of the day, you're somebody in the background supporting a campaign that, again, doesn't always deliver what it says it's going to do. And would I say the previous parties that have been in power, they've all kind of done the same thing? They've said a lot of great things and they've not managed to deliver on a lot of them.
I'm going to agree with you. It doesn't matter who the party in charge is. It's the same thing, just from a different angle. Nothing ever changes. Nothing. Tell me, when was the last time something really, really big changed? The last big change was a raise in employers' national insurance contribution. Now, controversial or not, if you like it or not, okay, that affects businesses all over. If I was the chancellor, I would just say 20% VAT on everything. Everybody pays VAT from day one. No different, okay? Because VAT is one of those indirect taxes. So you know that it's so crazy. Like if you take a pie from Greg's, just an example, you take a pie from Greg's and you take it away, you pay less. If they heat it up, you pay more. There's VAT on it, okay? Make VAT 20% on everything. Then everybody suffers equally, okay? Nobody can get away from it. Every business that's registered needs to pay VAT, all right? Indirect tax, what does that mean? It means that you don't have to raise employers' national insurance contributions. It means that you don't have to raise people's personal taxes, okay? But, I mean, that is an unpopular opinion. I don't know. But you're going to have to do something big because there's a massive hole to fill.
This is why, but why is there a massive hole? So you have, I just look at, and we've said this previously, I dumb this all down. You look at the UK, you look at a business, it's got profitability, it's got losses. And if that's happening in a business where your profitability is less than your losses, you're going to go under.
Yep.
And in my head, it sounds like the UK is going under.
So what do you do when your business profitability isn't there? What are the things that you start looking at if your business isn't making any money?
So your first and foremost thing is you look at your expenditure.
Okay.
You look at your outgoings, right? We could go processes and procedures, all these kind of things, wonderful things, because they're all important.
I just want to pause you. I hear you, but that's not the first thing you do. That's probably the last thing you do. What is the first thing you do when your business doesn't have enough cash in the bank? What is one of the first things you do?
What's one of the first things you do?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what it is. You know what people do?
What?
Is they go either take out a loan or they go take a big credit card to fund their business. They don't do the basics because you're absolutely right. The first thing you should do is you should look at your incomings and your outgoings. But they don't. The first thing they do is they go get extra cash because they think if I have a little bit more cash, it'll come.
Well, this is the exact same thing as when your body's not right. You just instantly think it's pills. No, look at the source. Look at where it's actually starting from. I mean, you don't have to be a fucking rocket science to realise this. This is how stupid some people are. Right? And this is again...
Do you think people have is it because people have become lazy or people just lap up everything that they say on the news? Because we don't question the news.
Oh, people are like, not lemons, what's the one, Pac-Man, you know, they're all following everybody, the sheep. What happened to, like, now we all have to say, I will never ever say, I will not conform to society to a point where, oh, you can't say this. Yes, you can.
Everybody's entitled to free speech.
You can say what you need to say. You're not going out your way to offend everybody, but again, there's a level of being offended and giving offence. But I just think it's just, people are soft. They're soft, lazy, bury their head in the sand. There is backbone with a few people, but I think we're losing our identity. I think we're losing that self of purpose. And it sounds a bit wokey to say stuff like that, but who are you? What are you? What's your main mission on this planet? You're a father, a mother, a sister, a gran, a brother. What are you when you're in business? Are you a firecracker? Are you somebody that's driven? Or are you somebody that's just fucking weak, is willing to point a finger at everybody else? Or are you actually willing to stand up and go, no in my watch, I'm not having this. I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to reshape myself. I'm going to remodel my business because I'm here to win. I'm not here to just take part.
I think that it goes back to what do you stand for? What do you stand for? Because a lot of people, I'll say to you before, a lot of people tell you that they have integrity and they're honest. That's two things that you can fake quite easily. But what is it you actually stand for? Do you actually have a set of guiding principles that govern you? Look at your children. How do you raise your children? That is always a good indication of what people's moral values are. How do you allow your children to behave and speak in public? That is a good indication of society, but also of parenting. And parenting goes on to business because your children, they learn. Children learn by seeing, and they see what you do, and they understand what you do. And that's how children learn. They don't learn from textbooks.
I'll tell you something right now. Here's something. And then people say this controversial. They can go and bile their head for all I care. You take children, what they're learning just now, and you've got this whole thing about human beings want to identify as kind of animals and everything. I mean, I'm going to talk about this because that is one of the most stupidest things I've ever heard. However, and I can't remember if we've actually spoke about this before, I think some of this has already been there prior to it. And just let me go down a rabbit hole. OnlyFans, right? Where people want to get fucking toenail clippings sent to them and everything. I mean, there is proper weirdos out there, right?
No, you're so right.
There's proper weirdos, but they've probably already been there. But we've just now managed to give them a platform. You take, again, say this again, you take porn, right? There's all different levels of porn. It's because they're creating it because people want it. You're like, wow. And as dumb as that, dumbing everything down. Once you know it's like business, once you know there's a demand for it, you create it or you sell it. So there's weirdos that like all
kinds of different things.
Weird stuff in porn. OnlyFans, there's proper weirdos out there. Like people that just, it's just not normal behaviour. Now somebody's going to say, what is normal?
Well, do you think we enable that behavior?
Of course we do.
By allowing, by saying, you know what, OnlyFans is, how bad can it possibly be?
Listen, you can monetize it, people can make a career off it, all these things, and that's great as well. But there's a pros and cons for everything. And I am like, if a gentleman, a woman back in the First World War, the Second World War, to see what they've actually given their life for, they'd be turning over in their grave. And I know that might sound, but that was back in that day. Yes, I know it was. But the hardships that people have gone through to get to where we are now, like what we're going through to now, we're defending ourselves, we're defending the future generations. But I generally feel we've came to a tipping point where we're actually just all in it for ourselves now. We're all in it for the 60, 70 years that we've got on this planet. We're no interested in the legacies. We're no interested in creating a better future for everybody else. You know, you take the green energy, you take all of these things. Aye, some of that's a bit whack, some of it's a bit woke, some of it's important. But I generally feel that we've lost a sense of discipline and moral compass and ethics. I think we've lost that through a generational shift. And it's possibly happened in anybody who was born in 2000. I think it's just changing. The technological advances that have happened, which are not those persons, that era, it's not their fault, but it has created a lot more cons than pros. And it has a demise in society. I generally feel it has. And I know things change and things evolve, but something has to evolve really quickly because you've now got youngsters growing up without that backbone and that strength. Not all of them, but the majority I think have. You've got people with technology, again, not their fault, but they're not needing to think as much now. Again, that makes you a bit more stupid. It makes you lazy, incompetent, lack of discipline, lack of respect, lack of all these key metrics that you need as a proper human being that can fight for their position. And again, this is not their fault, but this is what's the whole plethora of stuff that's coming. It's coming, and it's the human beings that have done it because we want an easy life. You know, when the microwave came out, sorry to rant, microwave, it became easier. You take the farmers, they got a tractor, it made it easier, and everybody was up in arms. Everything's making it easier, and I get that to a point, but I think we've went far too much. The other way. You've went far too much, where human beings are not going to be required as much. That's going to come.
It's an interesting. I just want to sense check something. What age does a child become an adult? At what age can they make independent decisions? At what age are they equipped to make the right decision?
Well, take an age, they normally say 18. 16, you can leave the house. 18, you can start legally drinking. 21, you can go into certain pubs and whatnot. The answer to that is I think you'll look and you'll hear at a young adult and it'll all be about how they deliver themselves, how they speak, how they interact. I think there's adults in at 24 that are just completely wooden. And you're like, oh my God, how many adults do you see run about and acting like a child?
No, absolutely.
Throwing their toys at the pram.
When they don't get their own way. And going back to your point on where are we with society, have we swung the pendulum too far the other way? Maybe we have. What is discipline these days? What is discipline? Where is the sense of right and wrong? That I get that there is a small minority that abuse their power, people at school, police. But for that small minority, we change our whole system to stop that from happening. It's for 1%. You make exceptions the norm. And and that then comes back to bite you, because then now at schools, I think I said to you before, I've got a friend whose wife's booked off. It's because a P5 child is verbally abusing the teacher and they have got absolutely no recourse. They can do absolutely nothing. Now, again, society, what does it tell me about the parents? What does it tell me about the schooling system? What does it tell me about all of those things?
Here's one thing, right? Every parent thinks their kid's God's gift to the world. Oh, my kid wouldn't do that. You drop your kid off in my school, they abide by my rules, my standards. If you don't back that up, it tells me that you've got no standards and you've got no moral compass. You come, and it's not a dictatorship to a point, but it's the rules and regulations and the standards to be met. And it is the one question I would ask everybody in society: what are your standards? What are your standards? And you said this before, if not you, then who? When you see something happening in the street, do you intervene? Now, the majority of people would want to, but they're always worried. But there's a majority of you. It's like the David and Goliath thing. You should be standing up for what's morally right. And a young little whippersnapper with a wee balaclava driving his scooter, terrorising people, give him a good bloody clout in the lug. Because I tell you what, I would do it. And see if there's 5 of them. Yes, there is a concern of a knife, but if I shout loud enough, I will then interact with everybody else there. When you, get your arse over here. This is not happening on my watch. Why are you allowing it to happen? Because we're breeding weak society. People breaking into somebody's bike on the high street, and everybody's standing about getting their phones out. What are you actually doing? You absolute pleb.
Why we're not stopping behaviour like that?
Because it's fear. But everybody else is walking by, passers by, going, that's shocking what they're doing there, that's shocking what they're... Get stuck in getting about it.
Do you think that the reason why people don't get involved in things like that is because of fear of repercussions? So yes. they won't stop these young gangs, because all of a sudden one of these young gangs will sue them, or the police will press a charge against people.
I tell you what, the police officers, they must be tearing their hair out. The law must be tearing their hair out. Solicitors, lawyers, all of this side of things. Like, make no mistake, they obviously know what's right and wrong, and they'll be going, as a human being, somebody that's in their 40s probably doing that job, going, what's happened? When did this happen? Why did we allow this to happen? What's happened?
We've allowed it to happen. You're right.
And this everything rots from the top. It's not the bottom. It's all sent from the top. Again, a deep dive into this. So whoever runs governments, whoever runs the country, whoever runs the global community, make no mistake about it, they're directing this travel. They're directing this car down here. You've got, and people believe in conspiracy theories. People think it's a lot. I didn't really care. I'm telling you what I think. From a business point of view, everything rots from the top.
Yeah,
and it
fish rots from the head down.
It goes all the way down. Now you've got to ask yourself, why is this allowing it to happen? When I know it, and I'm not the smartest cookie in the jar, I know this is happening. I know something's wrong, but it's allowed to happen, and everybody's turning a blind eye to it, or go, oh, it's ridiculous what's happening. Why are you not doing anything about it? People in power, and this is where I've got more truck, where people in power that stand up and say the things that are a bit controversial.
The controversial things.
However, it's like they're talking like I'm not saying that they're saying things because they're uneducated, but it comes across a little bit uneducated, but it also comes across as more human.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got more flavour for that. Someday an odd swear. Now, don't get me wrong, Donald Trump swearing and things like that. There's a time and a place to articulate yourself in the right way. But there's also an element where I like the reality of it. And you take some of the political parties that are in, take Reform for instance. I've got a lot. I'm happy with some of the stuff that they say. I don't support Brexit and what's happened with that, but there's a lot in there that I like. Yeah. I really do, and I like when you find out some of the backstories for all these politicians, why they're doing their job and why they're doing it, even though they're probably getting death threats. Their kids are getting bullied, or all these kind of things that are happening, and this is across all of the political sphere, all the parties, but they still do that job. One, they get a wage, but most people in business never have to go through that sort of thing. But these guys and girls are still doing it. You go, I take my hat off to you, but nobody communicates what they have to go through on a day-to-day basis.
I think public scrutiny, when you look at politicians and everybody, public scrutiny, they're too scared to have an opinion about anything. They say, no, let's have a meeting, let's create a committee, let's investigate it because it's important. And I mean, it's shocking. The Edinburgh tattoo is coming up now, and there was a councillor, one of the Greens, and he wanted to stop, the planes fly over literally once. He wants to stop that, okay? So again, for one single person, we want to try and change the world. For what? It serves no purpose. 95% of people will tell you that it's a crazy idea. But that's how things start going. That's where things start going wrong. We take exceptions and we make them the norm. Because at the moment we live in uncertain times. Whether we like it or not, we're heading for a recession. That's why the Bank of England didn't drop the rate again. Because they can see we're going into a recession. They have to wait. They have to wait until it's there before they start dropping. Because everything's becoming more expensive. Think about it. Your salary's only increasing by 3%, but food's jumping by 10, 15%. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me that inflation is 3%, because are you only eating rice, bread, milk? You're not.
Uh-huh.
So there is, energy. What's happening in the energy crisis in the world? Energy.
Do you not pay the most energy out of everybody in Europe? The most expensive.
Are we the most expensive?
We're the most expensive for utilities. You go, wow. Well, I think it's like what I said about the NHS previously. You can try and fix small things, but because it's such a massive organisation, the only way you can change it is by breaking it, in my head.
Yeah.
And I don't want to break the NHS. I think the people in there doing an absolute amazing job, and it's not until you're having to use the services you realise how important it actually is. And unfortunately, most people are going to have to use the NHS at one point in their life, and hopefully it's nothing too serious. But these people do an absolute amazing job, and it's back to this whole thing where everybody's got a gift in business and life. Some people are good with their hands, some people are good with their minds, some people have long suffering, some people are just they've got that empathy, and that's why you've got people going to NHS. I mean, imagine working in a cancer ward for young kids. I mean, there's only so much that I couldn't do that because, and I wouldn't want to do it, but there's people out there that go, yep, that's definitely the thing that I want to do. I mean, talk about being able to go through long suffering and deal in that and still have the kindness and compassion. That's brilliant. And then you've got, again, on the other side, there's people that want to climb big mountains or big buildings and do things with their hands up there. I mean, there's no danger I'm going up a big building. But there's people that just... Yep. There's gifts. Everybody's got a gift, and I think it's so refreshing when you meet so many different people that they do different types of jobs. You go, wow, how did you get into that? Oh, I've just got a passion for that side of things. Again, doctors, surgeons, lawyers, solicitors. And that's what's amazing about human beings. We're all different. We've all got different personalities. We've all got different paths that we're going down.
Have we lost sense of community, sense of caring? My grandmother used to say, and this is going back to the early 80s, my grandmother used to, because fuel was expensive, so when she hits a downhill, she pumps in the clutch, and she lets the car freewheel because fuel's expensive. And that's just how she grew up. I mean, there was something I just recognized the other day. My grandfather, he's been dead for about 40 years. But it was interesting because one of my fondest memories of him is he used to make us coffee. But instead of milk, because he used to work on the railways, he used condensed milk.
Right, okay.
Because it didn't go off, it didn't evaporate. So it's just interesting as a society, as we go on. Somebody said we've had hot water only came in 1947. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. 47.
Something like that. We've only had hot water for like 70 years. Unbelievable what they would have seen. I mean, television. The rise and fall of the mobile phones has been around for 20 years, okay? But go back 10 years, just 10 years. I'm just asking you to go back 10 years when the Nokia 3310 was the bomb, okay? You didn't have a camera, you didn't have music. And then 2007, Steve Jobs comes and he launches the iPhone, the precursor. Now, your video camera, your telephone, your music, everything is on one single device. One single device. Just look how far we've come in 10 years.
I know.
And now look at ChatGPT. I mean, that's an interesting one. Look at that, because now you can get anything in the world. Any information is immediately accessible. And there's one thing about accessing information, and I will say to you, you can nearly Google or access anything via ChatGPT. Absolutely. But do you know how to implement it? And that's where the problem comes from.
Well, you think about the new businesses that have started in the UK in 2025, I think there was about 4.4 million.
4.4 million, yeah.
4.4 million businesses have started. And a lot of that is using technology. So I think you had marketing campaigners, all that advertising, marketing.
Yeah, social media
guys.
Virtual assistants, I
think was number 3
in
the top 5 virtual assistants.
Content creators.
Yep.
Whatever that may mean.
All right, but the whole point of this is all using the advancement in technologies that have created a business. And a lot of them have probably went, well, I could do that myself. Top 10, I think there was one that was coaches. There was one coaches as well. Everybody's wanting to become a coach. You've got personal
trainers.
So everything's around that micro business, that one person business.
Micro businesses are definitely the way of the future, because a lot of, and again, it's the lifeblood of the economy, because they have to work a lot harder. But you know what was interesting out of that top 10 was that in that top 10, there was no mention of anybody in the trades, no spark, no joiner, no plumber, nothing like that. So that is an interesting thing, because does that then mean that at some point there is going to be a shortage of these people?
Well, because I'm in construction, Mike's in construction, along with other businesses, you do see that. I mean, we've had a couple of apprentices and we've had to let them go, which has been gut-wrenching and horrible. But it's the amount of cost that's involved in it, and just with the downturn and workload and whatnot, and you've got to adapt, and you're trying to get these kids another job somewhere else because it's important. But this is where the political parties need to help. I know they've got there's loads of things they need to help with, but if you look at the grassroots of everything, how do you? It's like China. They're implementing it. They've been in other countries for tens of years. 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Long-term
strategies, building infrastructure, ports. We'll help you with the port. We'll help you with your roads, purely because they can dig for the minerals. They can get the
mineral rights. They own the ports.
All of it, and it's what you're doing in Britain to best serve you in 10 years' time, 15 years' time.
So, just a quick question: who owns the airports? Who owns Heathrow? And who owns Gatwick? Is it owned by the government, or is it owned by an outside foreign entity?
I'd imagine it'll be somebody outside.
Yeah, you're right. It's owned by a consortium and
pension funds and
no
consortium
of Middle Eastern companies. Interesting. So it's an interesting phenomenon when you start looking at things like I know a guy that wrote a book, and the book goes on the premise of civil service. So when you allow doctors and nurses and police and ambulance and those critical services in your government to go on strike, your country is on the brink of anarchy, and the Americans have got what they call a doomsday clock,
Right.
and it's I think it's at 1 minute to 12. So the world is 1 minute away from self-destructing itself. Okay, and that doomsday clock. So it's anarchy because if you go into that civil servant, it's a civil servant. Civil servant. You're serving
Civil.
people
Yep.
civilly. So yeah, do they get paid enough? By no stretch of the imagination. Do they have horrible working conditions? Yes, absolutely. But how do we change that? How do we change that? And I say we because it's not just the government's problem. I promise you, it's every single person in this country's problem. How do we change it?
Your moral compass, your ethics, what you stand for. Or you stand for nothing. You were talking about this earlier.
If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything.
It's how you're bringing your kids up, what education you've got. Now, I know there's a big conversation about that. People that are young, broken families that have kids that are really struggling, and they've struggled before prior to having kids. So it starts a conveyor belt. You've got people on the dole. You've got people chasing the gyro where they're getting more money, not working, the rent getting paid, the housing shortage. There's a whole, again, the thing needs to change, and it has to change very quickly. There's always casualties in everything. There's casualties in war.
Yep.
Whether you win, there's been loads of casualties in war.
There's casualties in business.
There's casualties in business, 100%. And there'll be casualties in this. And we might say this flippantly, but there's a lot of hard decisions to be made, tough decisions, because we said this again previously. If you've got 40 million, but you need to fix the roads or you need to pay for disabled kids, that's a hard one.
It's a hard
because
decision.
it's playing with your heart as well. And
which one do you choose?
I know, that's exactly it.
You know, there are two decisions, not only in business and in life. There's two decisions to make. There's the easy decision, and then there's the hard decision. The easy decision is normally the popular decision, is we want to get people on our side. The harder decision is the unpopular decision.
But this is what...
95% of the time, the hard decision is the right decision. But we don't like to make hard decisions anymore because we're so afraid of who we're going to offend, who we're going to alienate.
So this is the thing, when you've got a political party, you know, anybody that's wanting to win the race, they're winning the race on manipulation as well.
Yeah, it's
emotions. And these guys in the political sphere, what can I say that's going to be popular that would get me the votes? Because again, they're chasing votes.
Yep.
And I get that, because it's a game. But then they also want to stand for something and stick to it. And I always concern myself, like, how can you do that? How will you implement that? And I like sometimes how they answer it, because the last party has been actually answering it. Like, they've been quite blunt and quite abrasive, saying, no, this is screwed. This is what we're going to do. It's interesting. I'm kind of going on a rant here and maybe off subject. When you're getting asked to donate money to a party, you're like, right, okay, where is that money going? It's like charity. Where's the money going? You have to pay for a lot of these managers and people to run the charity. How much money out of that money that I've just given you is going to go to the good cause? It's the same idea with the political party. Where's that money going to?
I like that idea that you say, show me where the political donations are going to. An era of transparency is maybe something that we need. An era of transparency is, where is the hard-earned taxes going? Are they going to Calmac ferries?
Well,
where are they going to?
A big donor coming along with 200 grand to pay for whatever political party.
What does that buy me?
Human instinct. What's in it for me?
Absolutely.
I'm going to give you 200 grand. Do I get my name on the credits? Do I get a bit of recognition? Or, because it's 200 grand, see this policy over here? We're going to change it, aren't we?
Yeah.
Because you know what? I'm not giving you it. So this is back down to manipulation, human instincts. You know, if you had a big business and you were dominating the world, you'd get all your friends' jobs.
I'm so I'm so glad you say that, because I come from a country where that nepotism is rife, where a billion-dollar machine can be broken by just a few people and manipulated. And I don't think we see corruption. We don't see corruption, but it is here in the first world. It's just not as blatant. And we don't think that far. We think that everybody is in it to look for our best needs. Guess what? They're not. What's in it for me?
It's human instincts. Again, if you break it down into my business, your business, Mike's business, if somebody's wanting to give us some money, they want us to steer the course and they're wanting something back in return. That's the nature of investment. I want my return on my ROI on it, my return on my investment. Okay. And then you've got to try and fight. And when it doesn't actually happen, they've got you over a barrel. Yeah. Like you take Hell's Kitchen, you take the Mafia, you take all these guys, you get a loan shark. If you don't do this, I will be getting this, and this. So once you get that money's not for free.
I'm gonna
no
say
mistake about it.
Nothing is for free. If anything's for free, you're the price. Nothing is for free in life. But it is interesting when just do circle back a little bit about political people. I think very often when politicians are in the limelight, that moral compass that you talk about, if they don't stand for something, they'll fall for everything. Now remember, it's one of the Tom Clancy novels. It's Harrison Ford. It goes back a long time. They find the president's best friend has been assassinated, but his boat's full of drugs. And then they uncover that the president has been that. So now the media is coming at the president saying, oh, you knew about it. And now everybody goes, deny that you knew him as a friend. Deny it. And just say, no, we were just acquaintances. And he's a lone voice and stands up because he's principled. He says, no, tell them that you were the best of friends. And it saddens you that your friend had to go down that way. And that was the right response. Mm-hmm. But how often do we make the right response? How often do we have the courage? Because this is about courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is doing what is right and being able to live with those consequences. But we don't want to anymore, because you're right. We want the easy life. What's in it for me? I don't have to work hard.
But that's a really good story, that, because how many people do actually tell the truth? If you imagine a life without any lies to see.
Have you seen that movie with Ricky Gervais, and where everybody just tells the truth? They just sees everything, and then he's the first one that starts telling a lie, and everybody just believes it because everybody's so used to everybody telling the truth. But that doesn't happen when nobody tells the truth. Nobody. Think about it. If everybody makes a little bit of a white lie. Did you speed there? Now, first thing, do you ever go over the speed limit?
This is getting recorded, eh?
So that's just the first one that people have to look at. Okay, that's the first one. Just little things. Nobody tells the truth anymore, and we are afraid. I will say that we are afraid of washing the dirty laundry, having the hard truths. And this might sound like a rant, and might sound like a rave, and it might sound like we're very, very opinionated. But how does this apply to business? Because in your business, you're going to have to make hard decisions. Yeah, you're going to have to make unpopular decisions for your customers and for your staff. There are things that you can control, things that you can't control. Your business might be fundamentally broken on the inside. How do you see it? How do you know?
Yeah. I think we go back to running your numbers, understanding your business, where the work's come in, where your client order value is, why do people buy from you? What is it that makes them... There's a whole host of businesses out there that do what you do, but why do people buy from you? And these are the kind of questions, and they are very simple. Understanding the mechanics of what you've created, what you're selling. You know, we talk about the whole point of construction, selling services and joinery, you know, all these things. No, you're selling trust. Whatever somebody's buying from you, whether you've got a retail shop, what made them come into your shop? Was it the location? Was it the nice music they could hear? They came in. Was it the bright lights? Was it the soft ambient lights? Was it that dress in the window? People will make decisions based on what they either see, the visual impact, or what they hear, the vocal impact. And it's about what you're creating for them. But knowledge is power. data. We've spoke about data, knowing where your clients are coming from, why they're coming from them, and you want to really delve into it, their age, their demographic, their favourite colour, their hobbies. Knowledge is power. So you can start selling on that. And I think we're missing that.
I think one of the hardest things is when you start a business, you miss that completely because all you worry about is getting the money.
Get the jobs in.
You get the jobs in. You miss the importance of data. You miss the importance of systems. You miss the importance of recording, just little things. Just you miss that opportunity. And when you're bootstrapping, you're starting off and you have to record everything via Excel or Word. It was very difficult to pull that information out to start understanding. So in the beginning, you need to understand what is really important to you. I'm a big believer in customer journey and customer experience. And often when I talk about customer journey and customer experience, people tell me about how they sell to clients. But a customer journey really starts with what is my problem, what is my need, or what is my want. That is step number one. And the very next step is where will I go to? What will I look for? And do I go to the internet? Do I go to friends? Do I go to family? Where do I go to? And are you showing up in those places?
Well, I think that's a good way of finishing the podcast today. But do you know what button to press?
I'm looking at these buttons with
press
panic.
The green one.
So I'm gonna hit the green one and let's hear. This is your world.
Shape it, or someone else will.
Well done.